Mommy said that tickled her fancy.
Turn around and say
Everybody
cheese.
say cheese.
Three.
All right, there we go.
2, 1, cheese.
I could probably go on this, but
You got some good stuff for us?
well, I like today because it was all about crazy faith.
Oh, I like that. Tell
Yeah.
me more.
Yeah, there was
Do tell,
so much
do
good
tell.
stuff that I had to write it all down because I was like, wow, that's so good. And I says, don't let people stop you from doing crazy if you know that's what God called you to do.
Ooh, you know crazy is crazy.
That's what I laughed so hard about. So it's crazy miracles are the offspring of crazy faith. And crazy begets crazy.
Yeah.
It just made me laugh. If you want to see God do crazy miracles, then you have to pray crazy prayers.
Dang, sometimes it ain't even miracles though. It's just crazy lifestyle. It's just different. Like us moving to Florida.
I was thinking as I was writing this down, I said for us to tell everybody that if God wants us to move, then he's going to sell our house. That was crazy.
Yeah.
And we told everybody.
But what bold prayer you play?
Well, I got that at the bottom. So and then that God could care less about protocol.
Yeah, what was the bold prayer though?
I'm going to that part, but I want to go to this part first.
Yeah, I don't want the keynotes. I want to know what you
No.
know.
I like that God could care less about protocol because it made me feel like everybody's always like, oh, you have to do things this way for God to hear you, or you need to pray this way for God to hear you, or you got to sit with him for a specific amount of time. And so it's like, I was like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
No, and so then at the bottom I wrote, I was trying to think like,
Get some more.
I was trying to think if I was praying big enough, like if I was being crazy enough.
You know what my thing said this morning? It said, and I thought it was good. And he said, don't pray for God to build your kingdom. Pray that you may build his. He said, if you're praying like for God to do something for you so you can have the cars and all the luxury things, then he said, you're asking for the wrong thing. He said, you might as well just pray for God to give you the money.
Oh.
Like, that's what it amounts to. That's what God hear when you pray for these. Like, he wants you to have the desires, but like you said, like, seek me first, and then everything else will be added to you. So that's when I started to shift my mindset from just this morning, because, like, we've been on the same wavelength. And I was like, dang, because you was like, yesterday, if we got $1 million, what would we do? And we went straight to what we would do, never considering, like, what would God have us to do?
Yeah.
And so, like, that, for that to come up in my devotion this morning was like, oh, yeah, you got to shift your mindset because you're definitely not in the right space, which is a good thing.
I know.
It's a
that's
good
so
thing because
crazy.
he's showing that to you. Like, if we was to continue to walk that path, not seeing these things blind to it, then it's like your discernment is off. And then it's like when you pray for God to open your spiritual eyes and you see who you really are and your intentions, and you're like, oh, let me straighten this out. So I thought it's a bad thing, but it's a good thing because he's course correcting you.
Yeah.
Like I pray every morning, like, God, your word said the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. So order my steps. So when I get out of order, like, he's gonna continue to put you back in order.
Yeah. But yeah, I was thinking about that because yesterday we played the what if game. Like, what if we got $1 million?
And I was like,
And so we were dreaming and trying to figure out,
Yeah.
like, what's something crazy? What would we do?
she's in there. Go get her. Yeah.
So I already knew what I was going to write down because of yesterday, because we wrote down all these things.
What we were talking about.
Because we
So it's
just
like,
talked about it yesterday, so I
yeah.
was like, oh, well, I know exactly what I'm going to do with the $1 million because we talked about it yesterday. So I wrote all that down, and then the one thought that came to my head after I wrote all this down, I was like, and then the last thing, because I wrote down everything we talked about, but then I also wrote, like, I want a vacation this winter because we talked about that yesterday. And then I thought about this one thought was like, well, I also should write down that we should be able to make an impact.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Did you write impact? Did you write the word
Well,
impact?
mine was like not that we would make. It was like, how can we make impact? Like I read, like just listening to you because you've been telling your story lately, and it was like, okay, God, this what I would do with it because I'm serving you, and this was like crazy. I said, because we're seeking you, because we're trying to build your kingdom, then out of the overflow of that, then we will have everything that we want. So out of the overflow, that means when he say he's gonna give you a blessing, pressed down, shaken over, running over. Like, he's gonna give you enough to build what he wants to be. But out of that overflow, you're gonna be able to have whatever it is that you desire as well.
That's so good.
Yeah,
That's crazy that we both went to that impact.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I was trying to think. I was like, well, what do I want? Like,
Well, I just took me back to like when you went through what you have. How did he bless us in the midst of that? Because it was still a trial, but how did he bless us? And I thought about the amount of people that was by our side, that helped out, that provided for us, and it was like, okay, this is something that you did for us during this time. That's something I would want to repay, and that's something that how I would want to make an impact, because we know how I feel to be in that position, and now we can like almost empathize or sympathize, whatever word it is, with those people. So like, how can we provide for those people
relate to
during that
them.
time? Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So what else you got, girl?
That's all I got.
What was that prayer?
What prayer?
That bold prayer you were talking about. That's what I want to hear.
No, it was just a sentence. I didn't have enough
You didn't
time.
pray
I
it?
wasn't done yet.
Oh.
I said I could have kept going, but we also would have to bring Aubrey to school. So
Yeah.
I didn't have enough time. So I just wrote it down, and the thought was, am I praying big enough? And that was, I haven't had enough time to like sit on that.
Yeah, so when I read mine, like something hit me, it's like, what your word was? Don't delay. That's why I asked you, what's your prayer? Because I come over right on, all right, God, you pushing that button. I pick up the phone. Let's talk.
No, I always ask, what do you want me to pray about?
He's already brought it to the thing. It's on your heart already.
Well,
Like, you know what you want to pray about. And when you ask him these things, like, he gonna open the heaven and be like, Carrie Young, I need you to pray for this. Like, it's just gonna come out of it, because then it's like, it's a conversation. Like, when you feeling a certain type of way and you're having a conversation with somebody, you don't want them to tell you what they want you to like say. Like, it's just gonna like, okay, it's a conversation, so it's natural. So like me, for instance, like when those things come to me, it's like, I know what I'm asking for, and I feel like he's giving me an answer. Then it's gonna be like, okay, let's take off the mask. Let's like stop pretending that we're talking about the weather and talk about what's really going on, and just talk about the real stuff. Like I said this morning, like, okay, God, I hear you talking about I might as well just pray for that money. Well, let's get to the thick of it. And then you start praying, okay, if we was to do this, God, this is what I would do. And I start talking about the people that like that's going through something similar to what my wife, and think about the kids, think about the husband, like how can I impact those people? Pray, like open the door for this. And so when I think about like when you say like bold, sometimes it's just like, what is the conversation going like in your mind? That's why like every time you say something, I goes like, we was talking about ideas, I was like, what's the idea? Like I go to it right away because it's there. Like I said, like seeds, the seed has been planted. Like he's just watering that. When he's watering it, like I water the plants every single day outside. Like when I'm there watering those plants, I'm there watering those plants. I'm not thinking about anything else. I see what they are right now, but I'm watering them today to be something else. So like when you ask these questions, that's him sitting there watering. The seed's been planted. He's watering that seed when you're in conversation with him. Because I have to be there to water those plants. What they look like today is going to be totally different in the future. So like when you say like my perspective of that, when you're talking to God, you're that flower bud today, but he's watering you because he sees something different within you. So like when I say like what you're asking for is there. He's watering you, trying to get that thing. Just like you have to see it and you have to believe. That's why I was like, when you wrote down something yesterday, I was like, dang, you don't even believe. Like, it's almost like you're skeptical of what you wrote down.
No, because I didn't like those ideas.
Yeah, but you wrote it down. There's a million things that you could write. You could write
I wrote it
down.
down a lot of time yesterday. I don't care. I still don't like what I wrote down yesterday.
You don't have to like it, but it's still a seed it's gonna sprout, and that's the seed that he decided to water that day. Remember those mercies? Give me what I need for that day. He gave you something. What you do with it is up to you. Like, you don't have to like it. That don't mean nothing. But that was the seed that he watered that day.
Or I could have given brain dumping.
You could have wrote down a meat.
I was literally, because it was just something I thought about the other day. No, because I feel like today, now I feel like touched my heart. So that's different.
Oh, because it touched your eyes? No, me.
No, there's a difference. When you write something down, there's no feeling, and you're like, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense. But when you write something down, you're like, and it
Okay.
touches your heart, you're like, oh, whoa,
Did-
that definitely hit something.
Did that, what you wrote down, have you ever had that thought before? That idea before?
Yeah.
It's a seed. It don't matter if it touch your heart or not. It's a seed.
But
That's
there, I have a million ideas all the time.
And you wrote that one down is what I'm saying. You could have wrote
Yeah,
down
because
a
I had
million.
just thought about it the other day, so it was something recent.
See, you missing the point.
No, I'm not.
I just told you, when I go outside and
When
walk,
mine braided,
Babe.
sometimes.
when I go outside and okay, last thing, when I go outside and water those plants, I'm not thinking about the house in our President Street, those watering those plants. We're not there anymore. This is the plant that I just planted that I'm watering today because I wanted to see it be something different. Do I want to sit out there and water them plants every day?
Yeah, but I'm
Do
just-
I wanna-
I'm not
do I want-
watering those things just because I wrote them down. You can plant things.
Listen, your
No.
rose bush that you ain't saw since I planted them is out there sprouting and going in 50 different directions, and I gotta touch them thorns every single day. Do you think I want to touch them thorns? Do you
No.
think I want to touch them thorns?
No.
No, I do not. But you know what I do every single day? I water them because I want to see them grow. I want to see them become something that you had in mind. And because
Yeah.
you had that in mind and I decided to put it in the ground for you, it's still going to become something whether I want it to or not. I don't like doing it, but every single day I water it because I see the potential and I see where you wanted it to be. So for me, sometimes you have to understand, like, you're going to open the door for somebody else. What you said, the idea that you had, it may not be for you, but because you carry that seed, God is going to water that seed and it's going to open the door for somebody else. And that sometimes come with the blessing, understanding, like sometimes we pray for things and we think we're going to be successful in that. We think this is going to be our one big break. When it's not, it's going to be a break for somebody else. But that's the seed for you to carry. And that's why I said you got a million, like you, babe, how many things have you started and how many things have you sold? A million. And you don't always like doing all those things, but
no,
you do it.
the ones that I'm successful at are the ones that I love.
You're successful at all of them.
But the ones that I
We're
enjoy.
not talking about how successful.
The
you
ones
are
that I
successful.
enjoy are the ones that I do the best.
Yes,
at.
but you don't enjoy all of them, and you still succeed in all of them. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because I really like to sell stuff.
Yes, and sometimes it's not always what you like to do. I'm just saying sometimes you have to open the door for other people. Sometimes you carry ideas for other people. That's why people build companies and they sell them because it's not for them. It's for them to start it to get the keys over to somebody else. So
Oh,
I'm not
that's so
discounting
good.
the idea that you have. I'm just saying that it was an idea. So that was pretty good talk this morning.
Yeah, that's fun stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more of your ideas, girl.
Okay.
All right, let's take off school.
Yeah, we gotta go. We literally.
Turn around, say
Everybody say
cheese.
cheese.
Three.
All right,